Right, just to give you a flavour of where we are, that's the head of the Seathwaite Valley, with the crags opposite. And coming down here, it's the shortest bit of dry stone wall ever, and the gate we've just come through, and the path we've just climbed up, and the rocks. And if I pan down to the right, you get some idea of what's underneath us. Down to the stream at the bottom, and then up towards Taylorgill Force in the distance, and the path that we're about to follow to climb up to beside it. Should be quite an interesting little route. Right, there's Taylorgill Force. And here's the path we're following up towards the top. Taylorgill Force. There's the waterfall. And the trees on the top. And you can see that we found a couple of rocks that are just the right size for sitting down on. Having a rest. Right, there's that bit of minuscule dry stone wall and the gate. And if we pan back, you should be able to see where we've just come across. This is this big scree fall right the way down the side of the mountain. And this is the valley through with the beck at the bottom, and then Taylorgill Force at the end. And then up to the stand of trees at the top with the sun poking through. And this is our path onwards, with an intrepid mountain goat on it.
Right, well here's the deputy cameraman taking a little bit of video looking down to the head of Borrowdale. We're going to come round, say hello to the sheep on the way. And there's the old man of the hills, going up to Sty Head Tarn.
You might just be able to tell that was a hawk going overhead us as we went alongside the stream up above Taylorgill Force. Last thing I expected to see here. And back down towards Seathwaite where we just come from. And we have no idea where the path went. Right, well here we are, Great Gable, that's where we're heading next. And if we scan round, there's Green Gable behind it. And then Base Brown, and the gap down into Borrowdale. Sty Head Tarn underneath. And then turning round, we get up to what we believe is Great End on the beginning of the Scawfell Massif, looking along to Scawfell Pike and Lingmel just here. Right, well, we've made it up to Sty Head, and this is overlooking into Wasdale. Yew Barrow straight ahead. And then this is the front face of Great Gable. Cairn Knots in front of us. And that's the route that we're heading across underneath all the crags. And then after that, we'll go around the side and up to the top of Great Gable. And then head off back down again. And back home. Beginning to think of home already. Right, well we're beginning to get onto the face of Great Gable now. That's looking back the way we've come and the path that we've taken across all the scree. And we've now ended up on this little knoll with Lingmel in the distance and Scawfell Pike up in clouds. And looking back down, see all the way down into Wasdale. That's the green bit in a brief glimpse of sunshine, and Wastwater leading out towards the sea and the Solway Firth. That's not where we're heading. Continuing up this path. There's the path. And John is hiding from me just up here. There he goes. And that's looking up towards the top of Great Gable, and you can just see there the beginning of the Napes, the rock face that we're heading for. Right then, we're on the front face of Great Gable, and this is looking up Great Hell Gate, and with the beginnings of the Great Napes beside us here. And if I scan down, you can see quite how steep this is. And there's John getting ready for the path on the other side. And if I scan down to the left, you can look all the way down the scree run, right the way down to the valley at the bottom. I better not set off any rock slides here. And then looking out towards Wasdale and Wastwater and the sea. Right, we're up amongst the Napes. And that's now the Sphinx Rock up against the skyline. And down here we have another strange looking rock. And up here to the right, not sure whether that's been named as a hell gate, little hell gate maybe. And, if I scan down to the left, you can see right down into Wasdale and Wastwater down below. This is John beginning his way down the rock face. This is the way we just climbed down. And if I scan around to the right, you can get some sort of idea of where we are. And as I film this, we have the rescue helicopter flying off into the distance.
Timing this, isn't it?
That's right. Couldn't have timed that better. So if I pan back out, this is where we are. There's Wasdale and Wastwater again, and Newbarrow and Kirkfell, and somewhere down here is our path. And the plan is to go around the corner and find our way around up over there somewhere. So this is our path home. We've decided to continue the Gable Girdle rather than try to get right to the top, because right to the top would have been right up there. That's Gable Crag at the top. So this is the pathway that we've just come along. Not that you would recognise it as a pathway. And then looking back down into Wasdale and Wastwater, Newbarrow and Kirkfell. And all the way around to the Hawes at the top, which is where we're about to take a rest. Well, that's our last view of Wastwater. We're now going to head off this way, underneath Gable Crag, and we're going to cut across the path underneath Gable Crag towards Green Gable at the far end, and then go down Windy Gap to the right, down Aaron Slack. But in the meantime, this was just such a fabulous vantage point to be able to sweep round and show you all the way around. That's towards Honister and the slate mines, And then this here coming up, that's Haystacks, the back of Haystacks, with Black Sail Youth Hostel right underneath it on this side. And then behind that, High Crag, and on the far side of them, Buttermere. But this side, the Ennerdale Valley. And unfortunately from this angle you can't quite see it. It's behind this mountain immediately in front of me. That's Pillar, behind there. And somewhere far in the distance you can just about see the Scottish hills over the Solway Firth, right in the distance. The cloud is beginning to come back in again now in the evening. And this is the way that we've just come up from the side and back round to Wastwater again. Right, well this is a rather special spot, because from here on it's all downhill. That would be the path up to the top of Green Gable, but we're not going that way. That would be the path down into Ennerdale, but we're not going that way either. So yep, so John is now just approaching Windy Gap. We're going to turn right and go down Aaron Slack and head home. Oh, that sounds good. Right, well this is it. We shall have to shout out the sound of the wind. This is Windy Gap. There's Great Gable ahead of us, and that would be the path up it if you wanted to take it. You look down into Ennerdale with Pillar on the left and Haystacks and High Crag on the right, and just a glimpse of Crummock Water in the distance. Right, time to go. Well, somebody's heading home. All the way down the contrail. As for us, we've just come down Aaron Slack from beside Great Gable up there. And we're now back. Sty Head Tarn, Great End in the Scorefells. So now time for us to head off back down the valley and go and find the car. Excellent.